Today on the agenda, I promised my friend Mitch I would do some like beginner, noob friendly survivor tips. Albeit I'm not the best survivor. I'm mostly a killer main, but I know my way around survivor, mostly from learning killer. So I guess we can start with the first tip being that you should play a bit of killer. You'll actually learn a lot. Although I think, you know what? I think after skill-based matchmaking, this kind of hinders your ability to learn from those games just because you're always against the same level. So the problem with that is now that you're all the same level, you might not see like the greatest survivors, which is actually not a good thing if you think about it. Like, don't get me wrong, for playing as like really good survivors and you're maybe a noob killer, if you're playing killer with skill-based matchmaking and you go to learn from the survivors, you're not playing against the greatest survivors with skill-based matchmaking, especially if you're low MMR, which you have no idea if you are. The only gauge you can use is like looking at the build post game, and you can see what they're running. If they're running Unbreakable, Borrow Time, Dead Hard, Decisive Strike, then you can like maybe gauge that they're like at least mid tier. The thing that I did to get better at survivors, I'd play like killer. I got to rank 1, but when the rank still somewhat mattered, I would watch the survivors I'm playing against when they're really, really good, and I would just pick up what they do and how they'll loop and when they transition and all that. So you can still kind of get that, but it's kind of harder now just because of skill-based matchmaking. Everything's really wonky. That being said, if you don't want to play killer, I don't blame you. Killer's stressful and can be very unfun at times. The first person I'd actually level up, if you haven't really gotten enough experience or anything, let me just turn the mic down a tiny bit. There we go. So the thing I'd say is to level Meg first. At level 30, 35, and 40, you'll get her teachables. That's for every character, killer, and survivor. Meg Thomas is probably the best first person just because you get adrenaline and sprint burst. Adrenaline doesn't really come into play until you maybe have a more teamwork. It's something that you kind of need to coordinate a little bit. Sometimes you luck out, sometimes it's nice, but if you're playing solo queue, it's not very useful. But sprint burst is probably the best entry-level exhaustion perk you could get. I wouldn't even get Dead Hard. I know a lot of people are like, oh, just level David, get Dead Hard. It's the best exhaustion perk. Unless you know what you're doing, Dead Hard's going to do absolutely nothing, because I've seen so many people who are like very obviously low-level survivor. They're running Dead Hard, and they don't know how to use it, and they'll just use it in the middle of a field, and that's not going to help you at all. Like, if you're running in the middle of a field, don't use Dead Hard. It gets you nothing. If you use it in a loop, and you can get to a pallet, maybe one more loop on a pallet, waste the killer's time a little bit, then Dead Hard's really good. But if you don't know how to do that yet and you're not comfortable with it, I would say just level Meg first, get her teachables. Quick and Quiet's also very good, especially if you're using head-on later on. You can do some memes if you're into that. But Sprint Burst is very easy, very accessible. The only thing I would say is don't walk around everywhere. Sprint Burst is very good even just right out the gates because it gets you to a gen really fast. And that's really, really good. Unless you're already next to a gen, then don't use sprint burst right off the bat. You can also learn how to 99 sprint burst. It's very, very powerful. I'd say, honestly, to me, I feel like sprint burst is a lot better than Dead Hard. Dead Hard's just like the really competitive one. I don't personally use Dead Hard, but I would say use sprint burst until you're really comfortable with that. Dead Hard's just not for your character, pretty much, yeah. After Meg, if you're playing solo queue, I would say level Dwight. Because he has some of the best perks here. We can take a look, actually. So, Bond, super, super good. If you don't want to level Dwight, this is like an asterisk. So, if you play solo queue, Bond is really, really good because you get to see the auras of all the survivors within a certain radius around you. And, you know, maybe you don't have Kindred, and it's a nice, like, secondary in case you don't get Kindred in your Bloodwood right away. It lets you do things that are smart, like you can see if a survivor's going for a hook save, or maybe you can see one survivor's on a gen, maybe you think that gen's like almost done, you go to a different gen. It gives you a lot of information to play with, and some of the information, knowing what to do with it, comes with experience. But being able to see your fellow survivors' auras is super, super useful. So I highly recommend Bond. You don't have to. If you don't want to do Dwight right off the bat, I would then move to like Claudette, and what you can do is she has empathy, bonding knowledge, self-care, all very, very good perks, especially in solo queue. Eventually you'll want to wean yourself off of self-care because it's just, there's better picks later. But when you're just starting out, self-care, super strong, especially solo queue, and you don't maybe have friends that can heal you. Maybe you don't know the maps well enough to say like, oh, I'm over here, and then they can go heal you. After that, I would actually say if you have the money, because I know you have to buy Nancy Wheeler, but Nancy Wheeler actually has really, really, really good perks. So these are going to change names here once they take out that DLC. But Fixated super good. If you don't understand how scratch marks work, you can do Nancy Wheeler is also works well if you want to be a walking sprint burst person. I don't recommend that, but if you know maybe it's not comfortable for you yet, Fixated super good. You walk a certain amount faster and you get to see your own scratch marks. So if you don't know, scratch marks last, I believe, 10 seconds, and they're brightest after 2 seconds. And this gives you an idea of like what you're letting the killer see, maybe how to route through the map a little better. That's also very, very good. Inner Strength lets you hide in a locker for 10 seconds. You heal a health state. Also pretty good. And it is faster than Self-Care. So these 2 perks, I don't really use better together that much, but these 2 perks, super, super good. And then another nice crutch perk, I believe, is on Kate Denson. Where is Kate? I don't think I have Kate. If you own Kate, again, you'd have to buy her, either with shards, I believe, or Auric Cells. Yeah, you can get her with shards for free. She has a perk called Windows of Opportunity. Very, very useful. I've seen a lot of people who are new to Survivor, and it shows you all the breakable walls, the vault locations, pallets within a certain radius around you. It does have a cooldown, so don't rely on it too much. But if you're not familiar with all the different tiles, like the T's, the L's, you know, if all that doesn't make sense to you yet, I would recommend Windows of Opportunity. You get to see all the auras of everything. You can plan your escapes a little better, plan your loops a little better, and you'll learn to figure out like the distance between you and the killer that you can safely get through a window, get through a pallet, get, you know, maybe when to transition, all that stuff. That's going to be super, super useful for you. So that's a nice crutch perk for early on. And then honestly, the next perks that are going to be super, super easy early on are actually just normal, like basic perks. So Spine Chill, I still use Spine Chill from time to time. Super powerful perk. It basically lets you know when the killer's looking at you, and some killers who are really good will just play around this. But if you're working on a gen and it's a stealth killer, you hear no terror radius, and you see this thing lit up, then you know that maybe you're getting stalked by a Myers or a Ghostface. Maybe there's a pig near you. Very, very useful. Gives you a lot of information, and you can get a lot of distance if you know how to play around it super well. You can leave early. You can do all that. And yeah, highly recommend Spine Chill. Super good beginner perk, and honestly super good later on too. If there's a lot of vertical change, like if you're on like Midwich Elementary, the Silent Hill map, it can be a little meh if they're looking, but the way you gotta use it is like mainly later. Once you get a little more comfortable, it's anti-stealth. If you see it really lit up for a long time, and I'm talking like 3 seconds at least, then you know to leave. But yeah, it's not, you're right, it's not as reliable, but it's still good. It gives you some information, and especially if you're new, highly recommend. In fact, we'll run it this game. Let's run that. Let's see. And then the other one that I would highly recommend is Kindred. Kindred's another aura perk. It only works when someone's on the hook, but still very, very helpful if you don't have bond. So basically what happens is if you're on the hook, you can see the killer's aura within a certain radius around that person on the hook, and you can see any survivors also, or I think you can see survivors everywhere. So you get to see where everyone's at, and you can tell, okay, maybe no one's going for the hook save, maybe I go for the hook save, or oh, that guy's going for the hook save, I'm going to do this gen. So it lets you be a little more efficient, it lets you be a little more coordinated, even in solo queue. So I use Kindred a lot. I also really like Bond. In fact, let's showcase it here. Typically, I prefer Empathy if I play like Claudette or something. And another underrated perk that I think no one really uses, which I don't think I have here currently, is Deja Vu. So Deja Vu, people trash on Deja Vu. I actually think it's really, really strong because what I like to do is killer. Basically, I like to 3-gen sometimes, and I can try to force survivors into the last 3 gens, and I'll play that. It's very, very strong for the killer. So Deja Vu shows you the 3 closest survivors, or 3 closest gens, sorry, in the map, and you can go rush one of them like early on, right off the bat, when it's the easiest to do so, and you'll be able to basically make the game a lot easier at endgame because you won't be 3-gen'd. So Deja Vu also super underrated. You should get Borrowed Time, but that'll come later. Borrowed Time basically lets you, let's see, we have Kindred, Sprint Burst, Borrowed Time. I'll take Borrowed Time just to show it off. Borrowed Time is a build perk. I think build's free if you're on PC at least. You want to get that, and basically it just makes it so that you can hook save very, very safely. Also helps with face camping, etc. like that. later on that you can go and try to do all the decisive strike and all that crazy stuff. In terms of like an item, I don't believe in using keys. I also don't really care about toolbox. Green toolbox, if you're gonna try to gen rush or something and you have like friends, get 2 of those, you'll plow through gens, but I wouldn't worry about that too much. A brown medkit is one of the best things you can do in solo queue instead of self-care. This is what I mean. So like self-care takes about 40 seconds to heal yourself. That's a long time. This medkit will be so much faster. This medkit will be so much faster, and it's at least guaranteed unless you miss your skill checks. So obviously practice your skill checks. But once you can get just normal skill checks, use your brown medkit. It's a free at least one-time heal, and it's just so much better than using self-care in solo queue, in my opinion. That's up to you. Maybe you really need to heal yourself constantly. Maybe you're not the best looper. Then probably take self-care until you're comfortable. But eventually move over to just using a medkit. Probably the best item for at least early mid survivor. I'm probably like a mid survivor. I'm not the greatest. We're gonna do spine chill. We're gonna do borrowed time, sprint burst, and kindred. I know you might not have access to this right now, specifically to Mitch, but you know, you just replace that with whatever. You could run, I don't know, inner strength. You could run windows of opportunity. You could do really anything. I mean, if you really wanted to be spicy, you run Saboteur or something. Or my favorite is Iron Will. That's another perk you should get early on too, is on Jake Park. It makes you basically silent on every character, and a lot of characters are super loud. So a nice beginner build is like Borrowed Time, Iron Will, Sprint Burst, and then maybe Bond, Kindred, or Spine Chill. You just kind of mix them up however you like. You could also just drop Borrowed Time. People might get mad at you, but you know, it's whatever. Just know where the killer is, if it's safe to do so, or unhook your friends and all that. You got to think about these things, and it's a lot of thinking. It can be almost like just mentally taxing, but you just kind of, you'll get a feel for it with experience. A lot of this can't just be explained willy-nilly. A lot of it is going to come with experience, but this should, all this information I just threw within like, what, 15 minutes, that should be enough to get you started, and then we'll talk about loops when we get into the game. I'm not the greatest survivor. Again, this is just for Mitch. I'm not like gonna pretend to be the greatest survivor or anything, but I know a little bit about survivor. And again, the best thing to do is to play killer, play it a lot, see what the survivors do, learn what they do, try to imitate them, and you'll become good at survivor in no time. Like literally every time I play survivor, I'm just copying what other survivors have done to me. And then once you get comfortable with all that, you get to do all the CJ text, the flashbangs, and all that bullshit, and all the memes, head-on memes. And that comes later. First, get good at Survivor. Also, the maps, they do matter a little bit. I wouldn't worry about maps for a while. But just know that if you get Haddonfield, you have a huge advantage. I'm not going to go into super deep detail on individual killers as Survivor, but I'll try to explain what I'm doing against like whatever killer we're against. Hopefully it's nothing too crazy. Right off the bat. We'll see. Here we are. We're on Azerov's resting place. Not a terrible map. Some of the loops have hello. Always teabag to say hello to your fellow survivors. And we're gonna look around. We have spine chill so we know when they're looking. Sorry, Meg. There's only room for 3 cooks in this kitchen, so she's gonna have to run away. Typically I don't recommend doing 2-3 people on a gen, just because each person after that actually is slower per person, although the overall gen speed is faster. But you're also putting all your eggs in one basket. If the killer comes over there, you're kind of screwed. If they have ruin or something and you all get chased off, you're not going to be able to handle that. And you'll learn that, and you'll also learn that there's people who run discordance so they can see gens with 2 or more people, and basically it lights up on the killer's screen. So we're going to actually pop our sprint burst. We're going to run this way. We're going to start doing this gen. Right? Simple stuff. Most of playing Survivor is holding W and holding left click and pressing space when something happens. And I think I just heard a trap. So we may be going for a trapper. So in this specific instance, we're going against trapper. You're going to want to be careful of loops, because what trappers do is they'll put traps in windows, pallets. What I like to do is I just look down every so often to see if there's any traps nearby. Right now, see, easy peasy. We just focus on gens. Don't do any of the crazy stuff you see that some of the big YouTubers do, where they're looping the killer and they're teabagging and clicking the lights and they're being super extra trying to get chased. Because what they're doing is, like, they're so good. They get the killer to chase. They let their teammates do all the gens. And basically, it just wins them the game. But if you just focus on gens, you can escape most of the times up until, like, mid-MMR. It's super, super simple. Like, look at that. Look at that. We just popped a bunch of gens. We don't even know if this killer's playing at this rate. Oh, did I just see somebody? Someone's over there. That's not the killer, is it? So this is... Oh, they just got downed way over there. So we're going to keep tabs on them. We see them being carried. And then once they're hooked, our kindred will pop. And Ashley has a crow, and he's getting pinged a bunch. Alright, so, yes, it is a trapper. We see the aura, and we can tell when he's close by. So we can kind of gauge whether or not it's safe. It does look like the killer is coming this way. So make sure... Oh. He's going to see her first. And it looks like Ashley wants to go for the save, so we're going to let him go for the save, and we're actually going to go touch another generator, which it looks like we have that one. She's getting looped. He's safe. Always, always, always go to try and heal your fellow survivors. Always try to unhook them, because the game gets extremely more difficult as soon as one survivor is dead. Because basically how it works is you'll have, like... With 4 survivors, you can have 2 people on gens, 2 separate gens even. One person's hooked, and one person goes for the save, right? But then as soon as you go down to 3, you can only have 1 person on a gen if someone's hooked, and then the other person has to go. So your speed is just halved right there. And of course, you know, you do the math. More people dead, less stuff being done, more pressure for you. So we just get spine chill. He is coming this way, so we're actually gonna move ahead of time. And we'll see what's going on. That's the nice thing about spine chill. As soon as you hear like a heartbeat or you get a little ping and it seems like he's coming that way, you know to move away. I'm actually going to just cleanse this totem. Which totems are getting a buff with the boons next patch? What is it, next month or something? That's pretty exciting. They seem really, really strong. But if you cleanse totems, you get a bunch of objective score. You want to get into at least like 1 chase in a game if you want to get... Ooh. If you want to get your points for chase or Vader. You also get points for being stealthy, so if you're never found, you also get a bunch of points. And you want to try to at least unhook someone maybe once or twice. Or heal them, get your altruism points. And that's how you're going to get your iridescence. Alright, I will actually go for the hook save here because I want the points. Although Meg looks like she's trying to compete for it. Oh. He did not see me. He's walking through the house. Okay, so we borrowed time. I would not do it when he's like that close in proximity. But here we go. We got unhook. We know he's somewhat nearby. I like to try and follow them a little bit. And then heal them in a corner. I always try to run to a corner because that way... Ooh, they just got trapped. But you try to run to a corner somewhere safe so you can heal them. And waste the killer's time. Another good rule of thumb is like if you have a gen that's done nearby, to just run that direction after unhooking somebody, and then it's a dead zone for the killer. There's no gens that he can pressure there. You just waste a bunch of time. Goodbye. Oh no, he just found Ashley. But we're gonna go unhook this. We see this trap here. Let's do this. We have borrowed time, so it's okay. Woo! You can learn to spin later. I'm not the greatest spin person, so I'm not going to even try to attempt to showcase it. I mean, I might try a little bit. Basically, what you do is you do this, and you'll move your mouse or your right stick a little bit. She wants to heal me. She wants her points. Good teammate. Sometimes people won't want to heal you, which is really, really annoying, but in this case, we actually have a Meg who wants to heal, and we have a gen that's almost done. So, pretty easy stuff. And this is... I have quite a few escapes on... Oh, God. I have sprint bursts. I have sprint bursts. It's okay. She took the hit for me. What a G, dude. Meg is such a G. Thank you. Thank you, Meg. You're the greatest. I'm going to actually try to get some progress on another gen so that he has a hard time trying to pressure it. Meg might actually... Oh, no. Meg's running. So we'll work on this. But he does not have a good 3 gen, which is good for us. We do have 2 pretty far in distance. I think the last one's like across the map, so we should be okay. Ooh. She just went down. We'll have to try and help her. Oh, we're the only one who hasn't been hooked yet. So sometimes you're like not hooked at all, and that means that your role is basically you're the saver because you have the least risk, right? Oh, nice. So, ooh, wait, he has Noed, and it's right here, and I'm gonna cleanse it. If you ever see a orange totem, always cleanse it. Sometimes you're unlucky and it's haunted grounds. This is Noed for sure, because he didn't have any other hexes until the end of the game. That's how you can tell. And Noed, if you don't know, will just down you at the end of the game. So this guy's probably really sad because all the pressure he just had at the end is now gone. Oh. I want to try to get him to... Can we disarm this? Let's disarm this so that this loop is safe. Alright. I didn't pay attention to where the doors were. You want to try to keep track of where the doors are so you can safely escape. But now everyone knows that they're safe. I cleansed the totem, unless he is Hex Undying. Which, honestly, will just be jargon if you're not familiar with it already. So don't even worry about it. But see how easy it is? You just do the gens. You save your teammates. You want to help your teammates. It's just more fun for everybody. It makes the game easier. Cleanse totems, save people, heal people. You'll get iridescence or golds or whatever. Unfortunately, we didn't really get into a chase. Oh, no. I think she's dead. She's already been hooked twice. Yep, he's right there. That's unfortunate. So don't leave right away. Especially if you know Noed is off the table. Because you can always go to save your teammate and, you know, they'll treat you as a god or something if you go and save them in the endgame collapse. Sometimes it's difficult, though. Like, in this case, we have two people who have been hooked twice. You can't really do much about it. But if they haven't been hooked yet or they've been hooked once and they still have a chance on the... Oh, shit, I'm worried. They still have a chance on the hook. I like to go and save them. Plus, you get more points. We're gonna just go ahead and escape now, though. Even though I just like went against everything I just said, but I think the other two will be fine. The door's open. She got worried. It's just over. So we got 3 iridescence. We didn't really get evader, but we got a bunch of stealth. Somehow I lost 2 chases. I don't think I've... How did I lose 2 chases? Because technically you only lose a chase if he hits you. Nope, he did hit me. He did hit me once. I don't know how I lost the second one. But we got a bunch of points for stealth. So that one, you'll just have to get more comfortable with chasing. We'll do maybe one more, and I'll try to get into a few chases. If someone's face camping, if it's not you, there's not much you can do about it. You can try to go for an unhook, and if you have borrowed time, that'll kind of save you. You can also do this thing where you tap the unhook button and you start doing the animation, and he's gonna try to pull you off, and you're just gonna tap till he hits you, and as soon as he hits you, then you unhook them. That only works if they've borrowed time and the other person has to take a hit. That's very hard to do in solo queue because sometimes people just don't understand, so I wouldn't worry about it. But if someone is being face camped, it's not you, just do gens. Don't reward the killer for, you know, face camping, then they'll learn to not face camp. It's just better for everybody if you just ignore it. If you're getting tunneled, a lot of people see that as a negative thing. I'd say flip it. Look at it as a positive thing. You're going to be able to practice looping. You're going to be able to practice evading, and you'll get a bunch of points if you do manage to escape. If you're getting tunneled, and what do you come out with? You get better at looping. You get better at transitioning through tiles. Your teammates are just flying through gens, and if you escape, I mean, that shows improvements. So tunneling is annoying, but once you get more comfortable with loops and you know how to play around the pallets and how to run like Killer Shack and all these other things, that's a lot better for you in the long term as a survivor, I think, personally. Like, what was it, like a few streams ago? We had a game where I looped a Wraith for the entire match. And it was actually such a good thing because I had a challenge that said to, what was it? We had to break 20 pallets or stun 20 pallets and blind a bunch of times. And I actually got the challenge done because that guy decided to tunnel me. So sometimes you just got to use tunneling to your advantage. It can be a good thing. It can be bad. I know it's not as fun. You just hop into the next game. Tunneling, it's just, if you look at it on paper, like, as annoying as it is a good killer tactic. I'm not really against it as a survivor or a killer. I try not to do it as killer because I know it's not fun for that person. But especially in high MMR, sometimes it's just what you got to do because they're flying through gens so fast. So I wouldn't take it too super personally. That's your role. You're the evader. You're the guy who's going to waste their time. That's just how it's going to go. It doesn't really get crazy until like high MMR. It's going to feel overwhelming if you don't know what's happening. But just make sure you're doing the gens. Know, like over time, you'll know how a killer comes after you and stuff. And like that's also a part of playing killer too, to get better at survivor. Playing either side to get better at the other side is always a good idea. Yamalka Estate. Okay. Not bad. No gen in the killer shack, unfortunate. Say hello to our bunny friend. But you'll know, like, the birds, if they're running Spies from the Shadows, they'll get pings. You know that you caused pings, and you'll work around that. And all these things are just going to come with experience. You can't learn everything just from, like, me talking about it, or, like, even Uts Darva talking about it. It gives you a general idea, but until you put it into practice, at least for me, and I know a lot of other people learn this way, is you're just going to have to keep playing it. Oh, and we have Spine Chill, and... oh, no, it's Huntress. Okay, so we're going to teach you about Huntress. You want to keep as much distance as possible and use very, very tall tiles. She's also slower than you, which is very good. Another tip, too, is when you're being chased, always look behind you. Like right now, she might charge up a hatchet. She's not, though. And you're going to have to use line of sight a lot against Huntress. So ranged characters tend to be slower. Oh, sorry, Claudette. But always, what I like to do is I try to keep them in my line of sight. She's breaking it. We're actually going to leave this because we just lost God Palette, which is unfortunate. Very, very early to lose God Palette. You're going to want to use line of sight. Woo! But I like, kind of like an FPS, you try to keep her in the middle of your screen. And this game's actually going to be really, really good for showing like what to do against killers. So in this case, it's going to be different for every killer. Oh shit, we just got caught. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, but see, we wasted a lot of time. And unfortunately, for solo queue, you kind of have to rely on your teammates in those situations. Always wiggle, never give up. If you wiggle, it wastes a little bit of extra time. Every second kind of counts. We saw the other Claudette was actually in position to save us, so hopefully she comes to our rescue. And we might actually get face camped. We did loop her for a while, and usually new killers get really, really frustrated, but that's okay. Don't ever take the chance to escape right off the bat, unless you know for sure you can get off, or you have a something to help you with that. So see, from our one chase, our one loop, we allowed our teammates to get 2 gens, and that's a good thing. Some people see this when they're playing Survivor and they're hooked and they're like, oh, I'm losing. Or, oh, this is terrible. Or, oh, I can't get off the hook. But, like, to me, I like to look at it like, oh, I wasted the killer's time. My teammates did this. Sometimes your teammates in solo queue won't be doing gens, or they're fucking off in the corner or something. And that kind of feels bad. Like, right now, no one's really coming to the rescue. She was actually wasting more time. And now we actually get off the hook. I'm going to let her deal with that. I'm just going to run to a corner. We're going to try to heal back here. Yeah, I have a medkit. I want her to... oh shit, does she see me? She sees me. Not good. Woo, that was so close. Oh, we might be dead here. Oh, I tried to spin. And honestly, that's not tunneling. Some people will call that tunneling. It's not tunneling. If it was tunneling, she would have ditched the other person immediately and gone for me. Or she would have face camped, and as soon as I got saved, she'd only go for me. But she's hitting other people, so that's not a face camp. Some people get really confused about that. Some people don't know the definition of face camp, or tunnel, I mean. So, I don't get too salty if this happens. Like, it's not a big deal. But what I will do is, what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to, which I kind of failed at, but I'm going to try to crawl away and get distance from the hook. Oh, and someone actually came to our rescue. That's surprising. And it's another thing too, if you see that like maybe you haven't been chased a lot and someone's been hooked a bunch of times, you should try to take the chase from them so that alleviates pressure from them. Oh my god, dude, we fucked up. Although the execution wasn't exactly there, I hope the information still helps. right? So you want to loop, you want to try to get good at looping just because, you know, you can help alleviate pressure from your teammates. It helps your teammates just finish gens if you waste a lot of time. That's the benefit to looping. The benefit to looping isn't looking like a cracked out phase XX42069XX god. It's so that your teammates can hopefully get some gens done, unhook someone else, you know, accomplish the objectives of the game. I don't really agree with people who just loop to loop, like for nothing. Or like I've seen like squads of survivors run at the killer and they just purposely try to get chased all game without doing objectives. I'm not a fan of that, but there is an actual like reason to doing it and a reason to get better. And try to do it for the best reasons, you know, because the community can be toxic at times, but there are plenty of really nice people. And I am blind. I cannot see auras. Oof, and we die. And that's okay. It's just part of the game. You just move on to the next one. A lot of people have different win conditions, even though the game has 0 win condition. But, you know, maybe the escape is it, or maybe you succeeded in a chase. Or maybe you get a 2K, 3K, 4K, 1K. But to me, I just want a bunch of blood points. I guess for the survivor, actually, that's a good way of getting better at the game too, is set your own win condition. Because there is no win condition. Don't listen to everyone else's win condition. Oh, you have to escape. Oh, you have to do this. Oh, we have spine chill. Someone's stalking us or something. There he is. It's a Michael. Michael can be very scary. So that's where spine chill comes into play. There we go. We finally got some spine chill action. Once Michael gets to tier 2, or sorry, we'll start from the beginning. Michael at tier 1, if you don't know, is slower than survivors, has no terror radius, and he has a very, very short lunge distance. At tier 2, after he stalks you for 1 level, he becomes a normal killer, normal M1 killer. His lunge is normal, everything's normal. He has a terror radius. At tier 3, his terror radius is huge, he's faster than you, and he can one-shot you, and it lasts a certain amount of time. Also, another thing too, if you're ever looking for like Hex Ruin or hexes in general, or maybe there's an annoying totem, or you just want to cleanse some totems for points, they're always, for the most part, going to be in tiles or main building or in the killer shack. I don't know the exact spawns. Usually it's like these little alcoves here. You check in here, sometimes they spawn in there. If it's the killer shack, oh shit. Oh my god, dude. He's right there. Look at him. He's moonwalking everywhere. What is he doing? Oh, he's chasing somebody. It's so weird because you don't have the chase music. Alright, so she's there. Let's actually dip somewhere else. Main building's also a good place to look for it. This one's actually really annoying because sometimes it spawns upstairs. Oh, that person's working on that gen. Let's look for a different gen because they're almost done. If you hear that they're almost done with a gen, just search for a different gen. It's just so much more efficient. Yeah, well, you'll learn like the main buildings and where the totems will spawn on each of the tiles a little better. And anything that's a tile is like a rock, anything with a pallet, with a window, anything like this with the walls. You can call them LTs. They all loop a little differently. I'd probably have to just like do a whole other instance of just how to loop these things, because that you can say quite a bit. But basically what you want to do is like with the T-wall, you run at an angle like this, right? And you try to, whoops, I missed it. See, you can do that. You try to hug this, and you always kind of run at like a 45-degree angle to the window. And why you do that is, see, like if you're coming around here and you run around like this and you go to 45-degree angle, you can get the fast vault. I didn't get it there, but you can get the fast vault, which is a little faster and you're less likely to get hit. Mid is okay, it's almost as fast. That's what we just did there. That's a mid speed vault. Ooh, just keep going, my guy. Also, don't be super afraid, especially if you have spine chill. If someone blows up the gen, some people get really mad, but if you have spine chill especially, you'll know if they're actually coming towards the gen. Some people just leave the gen immediately. I don't get that. Yeah, so like you'll want it. I'm not gonna waste my sprint burst here. And you'll be like out here, you'll turn and you'll get the fast vault. If you're walking out a window, you can vault quietly. It's like exceptionally quiet. This Myers just quit. No, I needed more explanation. That's pretty much all there is to Survivor. Once you get to Killer, it becomes so much more complicated. You gotta think about all this stuff, and it can be so stressful. I actually really enjoy playing Survivor just because it's like such a nice break from playing Killer all the time.